So it looked like the Indiana Fever front office is forced to speak. They've been in hiding long enough. It's time to come out of your hiding spot. The game is now over for the Indiana Fever front office, general managers, president. Amber, we need to hear from you next because it is hotter than fish grease in that damn kitchen in Indianapolis. I just got to be honest, man. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the tribe.
That's not just frustration. That's a content creator who's been watching this situation deteriorate for months, and he's finally had enough. The Indiana Fever front office has been silent while their organization burns. Kelly Krauskopf, the team president, just released a statement defending head coach Stephanie White after fans booed her at a home game. Let me say that again. Fans booed their own head coach at a home game in Indianapolis, and the front office's response was to double down on supporting her. This isn't about one bad game or one controversial call. This is about a pattern of behavior that's been building since Stephanie White took over as head coach. And what we're witnessing right now is the moment where the Indiana Fever's carefully constructed media strategy is collapsing in real time.
Now, yesterday we seen Caitlin Clark look a bit odd, I don't know. I got where she was coming from. She showed a little humility for Stephanie, but Stephanie ain't took up for you either, Caitlin. Now, you didn't say nothing when she wasn't stepping up for you. Now, people get mad and go at her. Now you feel a type of way, Caitlin. Stephanie White get booed. Now you mad. We ain't booing you, Caitlin. We booing the system because the system is now broken, dog. I mean, it's crazy.
Here's what makes this particularly damning. When Caitlin Clark was getting physically targeted on the court last season, when she was being clotheslined and eye-poked and hip-checked into the scorer's table, Stephanie White stayed silent. She didn't defend her star player. She didn't call out the referees. She didn't take a single technical foul to show her team she had their backs. But the moment the media pressure turned on Stephanie White herself, suddenly the Fever front office found their voice. Kelly Krauskopf released a statement within 24 hours. Not when Caitlin needed support, not when Aaliyah Boston was struggling, not when the entire roster was dealing with the most intense media scrutiny in WNBA history. No, they spoke up when their coach started getting criticized. The hypocrisy is staggering, and fans see right through it.
It wasn't Alyssa Thomas, it wasn't Angel Reese, it was long blonde weeds wearing fingernail poking Dejanay Carrington that lit the fire that lit up the night. Lit up the night. I ain't lying, dog. I ain't lying. Let's jump right into this.
Let's talk about that Chennedy Carter incident, because this is where Stephanie White's credibility completely evaporated. On June 21st, 2024, Chennedy Carter hip-checked Caitlin Clark away from the ball in a game against the Chicago Sky. It was flagrant. It was intentional. It was captured on every camera angle imaginable. Stephanie White's response in the post-game press conference. She said she didn't see it. She was coaching the game, standing on the sideline with a direct view of the court, and she claimed she didn't see the most talked about play of the entire season. That's not plausible. That's not credible. That's a coach who chose not to defend her player because it was politically inconvenient. And that moment right there is when the Fever fan base started turning on Stephanie White. Because if you won't protect your franchise player when she's getting targeted, what exactly are you doing as a head coach?
Our league have ever experienced. She has the full support of leadership. What the hell is y'all eating and drinking in Indiana? I'm telling you, I don't want to see it. I think people should boycott the games, bro. I really do. Because let that money get funny. Let the money get funny. You got to hit them in the pockets with a left jab. And I bet you we won't see Stephanie White no more. But I still got my prediction.
Now here's Kelly Krauskopf's statement in full, released on the evening of the controversy. Coach White has done a tremendous job leading the Fever, and for the second consecutive season has us in great position for a playoff push. She has kept our team focused and united, all under the brightest spotlight our team and our league have ever experienced. She has the full support of leadership. Notice what's missing from that statement. There's no acknowledgement of fan concerns. There's no recognition that maybe, just maybe, the criticism has merit. There's no promise to do better or communicate more effectively. It's pure defensive posturing. The phrase brightest spotlight our team and our league have ever experienced is doing a lot of work there. They're essentially saying, cut her some slack, this is hard. But that's exactly why the Fever hired Stephanie White in the first place. They brought her in specifically because she had prior head coaching experience and understood the Indianapolis market. She was supposed to be ready for this moment.
Both of them gonna be gone. Stephanie White, she might not even get a coaching job no more because the smear that is on her name is so profound. I don't think no other team will want to deal with it. I am convinced because now, no matter where Stephanie White go, this stain will follow her. I mean, if she get in another press conference for another team and not take up for her player, it will follow her. The receipts as long as the day's hours with Stephanie White. I think we all could admit that.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because we need to examine Stephanie White's actual coaching decisions this season. She's the one who reportedly restricted Caitlin Clark's playing time early in the season when the team was struggling to find chemistry. She's the one who took the ball out of Caitlin's hands during crucial possessions, running set plays instead of letting her best player create. Multiple analysts have pointed out that Caitlin Clark's usage rate is lower than it should be for a player of her caliber. She's not getting the same offensive freedom that other elite guards get in this league, and when reporters ask Stephanie White about it, she gives vague answers about team basketball and trusting the system. But here's the thing, Caitlin Clark is averaging over 19 points and 8 assists per game despite those restrictions. Imagine what she could do with actual offensive freedom. Imagine what this team could accomplish if their coach actually built the system around their generational talent instead of trying to fit her into a predetermined scheme.
Troubling, because I'm here to tell you, man, this ain't a good look for nobody. But let's read some of these comments, man. CDS Sports Podcast says worst organization led by the worst people in sports. Another comment stated, I'm fine with Coach White. We just need someone as general manager that knows what the hell they're doing. No, Stephanie got to go. I would rather keep Amber Cox than keep Stephanie White. I'm sorry. Stephanie White is horrible. We got to remember, Stephanie White was the same person who took the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hand. Stephanie White was the same person that never challenged none of Caitlin.
The comment section response to Kelly Krauskopf's statement has been absolutely brutal. One of the top comments reads, worst organization led by the worst people in sports. Another says, I'm fine with Coach White. We just need someone as general manager that knows what the hell they're doing. But here's the most telling comment. Then tell your coach to coach CC. Not everyone is a great like Lisa, but pulling CC over and running plays and backing your players, especially CC, on easy to win calls or taking a few technicals, there is no way Herb is going to let White lose any money. That comment reveals the core issue. Fans aren't asking for Stephanie White to be perfect. They're asking her to do the basic functions of a head coach. Communicate with your star player, defend them when they're getting targeted, and adjust your system to maximize their strengths. Those aren't unreasonable expectations. Those are the bare minimum.
About an hour ago on this podcast, let's listen to what
love, grace, humility will win. And then you tell everybody to go to hell.
Woo!
You think that's going to work for you, Coach White? Think that's going to work for you? The reality of the situation is none of that stuff will win if it's left up to you, Stephanie White.
Woo!
Because you're not handling it right. You playing right into their hands. Right into their hands. Because you're not embracing the reality of the tense situation.
Now, Stephen A. Smith has weighed in on this controversy, and his take is particularly sharp. He points out that Stephanie White told everyone that grace, love, and humility will win, and then in the same breath told critics to go to hell. That's not grace, that's not humility. That's a coach who's feeling the pressure and lashing out instead of taking accountability. Stephen A. makes a crucial point. None of that stuff will win if it's left up to Stephanie White because she's not handling it right. She's playing right into the hands of her critics by being defensive and dismissive instead of acknowledging legitimate concerns. The fans in Indianapolis booed her at a home game. Not the opposing team, not the referees, their own head coach. That's a crisis-level situation that requires serious self-reflection, not a defensive statement from the front office.
At a home game, booing you!
Yes!
You ain't the road team, you the home team, you the home coach, and they booing you. And Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark can speak up for you all they want to, as they did, and as they should have. But that's not going to be enough. How are you the head coach on the sideline during the play, covering the game, or coaching the game, and you didn't see the play? I'm just asking. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm like, what do you mean you didn't see the play? Well, you not watching? We saw it. You coaching the game. Up and down the court. It's your job to coach the game, watch the game. How did you not see the play?
Exactly.
And Stephen A doesn't let up. He asks the question everyone's been asking: how are you the head coach on the sideline during the play, coaching the game, and you didn't see the play? I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm like, what do you mean you didn't see the play? You're coaching the game. Up and down the court is your job. Coach game, watch game. How did you not see the play? It's a simple question that exposes the fundamental problem. Either Stephanie White genuinely didn't see one of the most significant plays of the season, which suggests she's not paying attention to what's happening on the court, or she did see it and chose to lie about it in the press conference, which suggests she's not willing to defend her players when it matters. Neither option is acceptable for a head coach of a team with championship aspirations. Neither option builds trust with your roster or your fan base.
Now, I have not seen no footage yet, which lead me to believe they're probably pulling the footage from the internet. I'm for the check again. I'm for the check again for you guys before we wrap up this video. Cause I ain't seen the footage. They booed her ass all the way out the arena. They stripping it. I still don't see it. Yeah. I think they stripping it, bro. I don't know. Get down in the comment section.
Now here's something that's been quietly happening behind the scenes. Multiple sources have reported that footage of fans booing Stephanie White at the recent home game has been scrubbed from official channels. Clips that were initially posted on social media have disappeared. Highlight reels that would normally include crowd reactions have been edited to remove the audio. The Fever's social media team is actively trying to control the narrative by eliminating evidence of fan discontent. But here's the problem with that strategy. This isn't 2005. You can't memory hole something that thousands of people witnessed in person and millions more saw on various broadcasts and independent recordings. The attempt to hide the booing actually makes the situation worse, because now it looks like the organization is not only tone deaf to fan concerns, but actively trying to suppress them. That's not how you rebuild trust. That's how you accelerate a crisis. So let's step back and look at the bigger picture here, because this situation reveals something fundamental about how the Indiana Fever organization operates. And what it reveals is not pretty. The Fever had the #1 pick in the 2024 WNBA draft. They selected Caitlin Clark, the most marketable player in women's basketball history, someone who single-handedly drove record television ratings and sold out arenas across the country. This should have been the easiest organizational slam dunk in recent sports history. Build around your generational talent, support her publicly and privately, create a system that maximizes her strengths, and watch the success follow. Instead, the Fever have managed to create controversy at every turn. They hired Stephanie White, who had a previous stint as head coach that ended with her being let go. They brought in a roster construction that didn't complement Caitlin's playing style. They stayed silent when she was being physically targeted by opponents. They made questionable in-game decisions that limited her impact. And now, when fans are expressing legitimate frustration with the coaching, the front office's response is to circle the wagons and defend the status quo. This is organizational dysfunction at the highest level. And the truly frustrating part is that it's completely self-inflicted. The Fever have all the pieces to be successful. They have the star power, they have the fan support, they have the media attention, they have the financial resources. What they don't have is competent leadership that knows how to leverage those advantages. Kelly Krauskopf's statement defending Stephanie White mentions that the coach has kept our team focused and united. But has she really? Because from the outside looking in, this team looks fractured. The body language on the bench during games tells a different story. The passive-aggressive comments in press conferences tell a different story. The fact that fans are booing their own coach tells a very different story. Let's talk about what keeping the team focused and united actually looks like. It looks like Dawn Staley at South Carolina, who built an entire program around supporting her players and creating a culture of accountability. It looks like Cheryl Reeve with the Minnesota Lynx, who has consistently defended her roster while also demanding excellence. It looks like Becky Hammon with the Las Vegas Aces, who commands respect through competence and communication. What it doesn't look like is telling reporters you didn't see a play that everyone else in the arena saw. What it doesn't look like is restricting your best players' minutes and touches. What it doesn't look like is staying silent when your franchise cornerstone is getting targeted, and then asking for grace when the criticism turns toward you. The statement also claims Stephanie White has the Fever in great position for a playoff push. Let's examine that claim with actual context. Yes, the Fever are in playoff position, but they're in playoff position primarily because Caitlin Clark is having a historic rookie season despite the coaching limitations, not because of brilliant strategic decisions from the sideline. She's dragging this team to success through sheer individual brilliance, and here's what concerns me about the playoff push narrative. It's setting up a scenario where the front office can claim vindication if the Fever make the playoffs, regardless of how they perform once they get there. See, we told you Stephanie White was doing a great job. We made the playoffs. But making the playoffs with Caitlin Clark on your roster should be the baseline expectation, not the ultimate achievement. The question isn't whether this team can make the playoffs. The question is whether this coaching staff can maximize their potential once they're there. Think about the expectations that came with Caitlin Clark entering the WNBA. She was supposed to be a transformative player who could elevate everyone around her. She was supposed to bring a new level of attention and excitement to the league. She was supposed to be the face of women's basketball for the next decade, and she's delivered on all of that. The television ratings are up, the attendance is up, the merchandise sales are up. She's doing her part. But the organization around her isn't holding up their end of the bargain, and that's what makes this situation so frustrating for fans. They're watching a generational talent potentially being wasted by organizational incompetence. They're watching the same mistakes being repeated that have plagued small market teams for decades, hiring coaches based on familiarity rather than fit, prioritizing organizational harmony over performance, refusing to acknowledge problems until they become crises. The booing at the home game wasn't just about Stephanie White's coaching decisions. It was about accumulated frustration with an organization that seems incapable of rising to the moment. It was about watching other teams make bold moves and strategic adjustments while the Fever stay stagnant. It was about seeing Caitlin Clark do everything right and still having to answer questions about why her coach won't defend her. And Kelly Krauskopf's response to that booing tells you everything you need to know about how this front office views criticism. Instead of listening to their fan base, instead of acknowledging that maybe some of the concerns have merit, instead of promising to evaluate and improve, they released a statement that essentially says, "We're right, you're wrong, we're not changing anything." That's not leadership. That's defensiveness masquerading as confidence. Here's what a real response would have looked like. We hear the frustration from our fans. This season has been challenging in ways we didn't fully anticipate. We're committed to evaluating every aspect of our operation to ensure we're giving our players and our fans the success they deserve. Coach White and our entire staff are working tirelessly to improve, and we appreciate the passion of our fan base even when that passion includes criticism. That statement acknowledges reality, shows humility, and commits to growth. Instead, we got corporate speak that dismisses legitimate concerns and doubles down on a failing strategy. The comparison to how the Fever handled Caitlin being targeted versus how they're handling Stephanie being criticized is particularly galling. When Caitlin was getting clotheslined, eye-poked, and hip-checked, the official response was essentially, "That's basketball. She needs to learn to deal with it." But when Stephanie gets booed, suddenly it's time for strongly worded statements defending her character and competence. What does that tell Caitlin Clark? What does that tell the rest of the roster? It tells them that the front office's priority is protecting the coaching staff's reputation, not protecting the players who are actually on the court taking the hits. And let's address the elephant in the room. There's a very real possibility that Stephanie White won't be the head coach next season. Despite Kelly Krauskopf's statement of support, despite the defensive posturing, the damage to Stephanie's reputation may already be irreparable. When your own fans are booing you at home games, when national media members are questioning your basic competence, when your franchise player has to awkwardly defend you in press conferences, that's not a sustainable situation. The Fever could make a coaching change in the offseason and frame it as a mutual decision or a natural evolution. They could bring in someone with a stronger track record of developing young talent and managing high-pressure situations. They could find a coach who actually wants to build around Caitlin Clark instead of trying to fit her into a predetermined system. But here's the problem. Even if they make that change, the organizational culture that created this mess will still be in place. Kelly Krauskopf will still be making decisions. The same front office that stayed silent during Caitlyn's targeting will still be running the show. The same leadership that thought defending Stephanie White was more important than listening to fans will still be setting the priorities. So the question isn't just whether Stephanie White should be the coach. The question is whether this entire front office is capable of building a championship organization. And based on everything we've seen this season, the answer is deeply concerning. The Indiana Fever had a gift dropped in their lap when they won the lottery and got the chance to draft Caitlin Clark. They had an opportunity to build something special, to create a dynasty, to establish themselves as the model franchise in the WNBA. Instead, they're speedrunning organizational dysfunction and alienating the very fan base that's been supporting them through all of it.